Okay, so let's talk about what might just be the single most ridiculous, nonsensical, and honestly the stupidest rule in all of cartoon history. It all comes from one episode of the show Horrid Henry, and it's so out there that it's basically become a legend online.
Seriously, think about it for a sec. All stories have rules, right? But every now and then, a show throws something at you that just makes you go, what? Well, get ready, because the rule we're about to dive into really takes the cake. All right, so to understand how we got here, you need to know the setup. The whole story takes place during a fictional reality TV show within the cartoon. It's called Kid Swap. Now, the whole point of Kid Swap is simple. Two kids swap houses for a week, and the one who can last the longest without getting sent packing by the new parents wins a bunch of money. And here's the key. The parents have all the power. They can kick the kid out for any reason. Just keep that in the back of your mind. And this is where it gets interesting. Horrid Henry wants absolutely nothing to do with this whole thing. His one and only goal is to get himself kicked out on the very first day. But his new host parents, who happen to be the parents of his rival, Moody Margaret, are dead set on being the perfect hosts. They want to make him feel right at home no matter what. So, Henry decides to go on the offensive. He launches an all-out campaign to be as horrible, as annoying, and as, well, horrid as possible, thinking they'll have no other choice but to send him home.
First up on his list, pure noise. He finds a drum set and just starts going to town, making a massive, non-stop racket. I mean, that's a pretty surefire way to get on anyone's nerves. You'd think this would work, right?
Nope, not even a little bit. The plan backfires. Big time. Instead of being furious, Margaret's parents are absolutely delighted. Why? Because get this, their daughter Margaret also plays the drums. So Henry isn't being horrid, he's just reminding them of their own kid. That's strike one.
Okay, so making a ton of noise was a total bust. Henry figures he has to up his game, so he moves on to attempt number 2. Good old-fashioned property damage. He starts scribbling all over the walls, basically redecorating the room into a giant mess. Surely, this is the line, right? No parent is going to be okay with this.
And no, they love it. Again, apparently it reminds them of when Margaret used to draw on the walls as a toddler. It's just unbelievable. Henry's entire plan to be a menace is just making them like him even more. At this point, you're thinking, is there anything this kid can do to get sent home?
So feeling totally defeated, Henry just gives up. He's tried noise, he's tried making a mess, and nothing has worked. He just resigns himself to staying and plops down on a chair in the living room. And that is when everything changes.
So what was it? What could he have possibly done that was worse than the drumming, worse than drawing all over the walls? What was the one act that was completely unforgivable?
That's it. He sat in a chair. That's the reason. After all the chaos, all the destruction they happily tolerated, the thing that gets him instantly kicked out is sitting in the dad's special chair.
And the dad actually says it out loud. He says they only have one rule in the house. Just one. Not don't destroy our property or please don't give us a migraine. Nope, it's just don't sit in this specific chair.
Okay, so this moment is why people online absolutely lost their minds over this episode. Because it's not just a silly, random joke. It's a moment that completely shatters the episode's own internal logic, and it's a fascinating look at storytelling itself.
Yeah, this pretty much sums up how everyone felt. People were baffled. It didn't just feel like a weird twist. For a lot of viewers, it felt like the story had just cheated them.
When you lay it all out like this, the problem becomes crystal clear. Look at the total disconnect here. They actively encourage and praise destructive, loud behavior. But sitting down in the wrong spot, that gets you immediately kicked out. There is just zero logical consistency.
So let's actually dig into why this fails so badly from a storytelling point of view. It's basically a perfect case study of what not to do when you're setting up the rules of your story's world.
It really boils down to 4 major problems. 1. It comes completely out of nowhere. There was zero foreshadowing, no mention of a special chair. 2. The punishment is just wildly out of proportion with the crime. 3. It completely contradicts the characters of the parents, who we've just seen are endlessly tolerant. And 4. The biggest one, it undermines the entire premise of the story. Henry's mission to be horrid was totally irrelevant in the end.
All of this ties back to this one crucial concept, narrative logic. And all that means is that even in the wackiest, most unbelievable fictional world, this story still has to follow its own internal set of rules to be satisfying.
And that's really the main takeaway here.
The rules in your story don't have to be anything like the real world, but they do have to be consistent with the world you've created. The chair rule is so jarring because it just appears from thin air and goes against everything we were just shown, all for a quick punchline.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? So many great stories are defined by one unforgettable rule. Like don't feed a gremlin after midnight. When those rules are set up well, they're brilliant. But when they're not, well, you might just end up with the stupidest rule in cartoon history.